we'll start talking with Abraham here about the album with the Dalai Lama. How's it going? And
Good.
and Junelle's going to join us shortly, hopefully, when she's
Hopefully,
free
yeah.
from her domestic chores.
We've been tag teaming with that, so it's like.
So my understanding is that Junelle is the kind of got this thing started. So from your point of view, what did you think when she first came up with this idea? Did you say, "What are you, nuts?"
I think I basically was like, that'd be amazing, that'd be great, but I didn't think it was going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And that was like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. The idea is maybe even slightly older than that.
Right. So when did things start looking like it was actually going to take place?
She went over to Dharamsala to actually see a doctor there, but I should probably backtrack a little and say Junelle's been close with His Holiness and his attendants for quite some time. She hosts him when he comes over here and has visited many times and met him many times. So there was already a relationship there.
Right. That helps. How does one initiate that relationship? I mean, family, friends, or?
For her, it was an opportunity came up through the Dalai Lama visit trust in New Zealand. So for her to be the host, and I think there was a real connection was made during that time and everything. She could probably fill that detail in a little better, but yeah.
Right. So you guys are pretty much responsible for the music portion of it. Obviously, His Holiness is handling the vocals and the lyrics. So did you have a discussion with him about music?
So Junelle, when she went over on that trip, wrote a letter. Or actually, initially she asked his office, and they said no, because it's basically their job to say no to most things. Just
Sure.
Yeah. Kind of incubate him from the constant demands and everything.
Right.
And then she wrote a letter to him, which she gave one of the attendants, who was a friend of hers, to pass on to him. And upon reading that, he was really excited and agreed to the project and booked her in a couple of days later to record him. Luckily, she'd brought a dictaphone that we'd borrowed off our friend Russell with her, which was the dictaphone. And she had written a list of topics and mantras that she thought would be good. And when she got there, she discussed it all with him. Yeah.
It's pretty wild. So how did you approach making the music for it?
It's a good question. She came home with a dictaphone full of these recordings, which were him speaking on these topics and how would you say, doing these mantras without any real sense of meter or key or anything. So there was a lot of experimentation, and eventually we just needed to decide what it was, what the thing was going to be.
Right.
And trying to make it accessible to the broadest audience possible, like people who might not have mind training or meditation practice or whatever, was sort of the co-pupper for the project. Once that was in place, it was a little easier to sort of structure the music.
Right.
So just a matter of being really sort of intuitive, kind of an intuitive process, like just sitting with the mantra, trying to get a sense of meter from it, maybe slightly nudging the vocals one direction or another so they'd fit into some kind of pulse, and playing till something felt like it aligned, till there was a feeling which was resonant with what he was saying.
Right. And you have some guests on the record, some other Kiwi musicians who are helping out, right? So
many.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, what did people think when you said to them, well, we're making an album for the Dalai Lama, do you want to play on it?
I think, to be honest, actually everyone was really excited, but it was a little bit, you kind of don't know what to make of it, you know?
Right.
But it was just reaching out to people. Luckily, they were all my friends as well, but who had the right heart. And, you ask them to play like themselves, and they do in the context of the song. And that elevates the song because of who they are as people and musicians.
So who are some of these people?
I wrote a great list, and I've probably forgotten it.
Just a couple. We don't need to hear them all. There's like 20 of them, I think.
Tom Broom, Alex Freer, Cass Basil, Mahoya Bridgman Cooper, There were so many. My mind's going back. Steph Brown, Guy Harrison, Nastasia Wolfgram.
So Steph
Junelle
Brown, what did Steph do on the record?
Okay, that's a good one. So we were in this shitty little hotel in Salisbury, very jet lagged, doing that
Right.
Daffodils show over there, and put some keys on it while we were there. So kind of just made a lot of it was done on really makeshift studio setups, like
Really?
very simple. Yeah, some of it in like incredibly expensive studios, but the most part was just, you know, it's not that hard to set something up and work these days.
Right. That's true.
So yeah, she did some keys on a song called Courage there, and then again in Edinburgh, she did some keys on a song called Humanity. Yeah.
Very nice.
And actually her partner Finn played on a bunch of songs as well.
Oh, great, great.
Had some drums, did some upright bass, a little bit of pocket piano, kind of noise stuff. Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, you've been talking about this probably for the whole week, right? Because the news came out around. What has it been like for you guys to suddenly be kind of thrust into this limelight?
That's a good question. I actually haven't really talked on that topic. I was about to say I've got a bit better at interviews, you know, kind of refining. But it's been such a long process with so many crazy obstacles and like such a saga behind the scenes that there's sort of a sense of relief that the world knows about it. You know, it's reaching people and helping people. And I don't feel like I'm a natural interview subject. Like I don't like thrive in this situation, but if it helps the message out there and helps it reach people, you know, it's just amazing. And I'm just so grateful that people are interested in it enough to want to talk to us about it, you know?
Yeah. So what kind of international interest have you gotten? I mean, big names, any kind of big outlets?
Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, NME, Consequences Sound, Stereo Gum, like Amazon.
Right.
It just keeps growing. Russell Brand tweeted about it yesterday because he did a feature on a little birthday thing we did for it.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so how is this going to affect your own career, do you think, going forward, as they say?
It's kind of like, obviously we're open to whatever opportunities may emerge, but this was such a labor of love from a like financial and time sense that I think it's going to just be a thing that we did with our lives, and we're really proud of and happy that we did it. But kind of in some ways it's business as usual. Like I'm still working out production work for next week, you know, got some mentoring stuff with kids. It's kind of, there's no like suddenly we're going to go buy a limo and move to the
Well, there was a Pope mobile. There should be a Dalai Lama mobile, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it should open up some doors, and especially, you know, because people were going to find out about you guys. And I'm sure a lot of, especially international folks, had no idea that you're tucked away here in Auckland somewhere. So what would you like to do?
I mean, just keep doing what I'm doing. I just like making music.
Right.
But as always, it's great working with new people who are like, you know, really driven and creative, and it's always exciting working with people you haven't worked with before. So open to whatever opportunities emerge. I think for Junelle, I can't speak for her too much, but she's made some amazing connections on the other side as well. Like it was a team. The team is mostly all these really badass ladies did all the marketing and PR and promotion and everything. And the fact that it's everywhere is no accident. Like so many people have been working day and night to get this out there and do it, you know, properly and respectfully and on such a level. So I think there's some potential avenues that, you know, the people she might continue working with in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got him in the music business, which is not necessarily known for its spirituality all the time. So did you have to be careful with who?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like
there's
how?
So much to navigate. I mean, even going back to the creation of the album, like we had to make sure it was accurate, or at least not inaccurate from a Buddhist perspective. So like the amount of repetitions of the mantra, the hierarchy, the deities or the emanations, the order in which they appear. And a lot of that was done in collaboration with a friend who's a Tibetan Buddhist monk and scholar who lives in Avondale called Geshe
Right.
Wangchen. So at least there was an expert to rely on for that. But
Right.
every step of the way, Junelle is like just checking stuff because people don't know if it's like accurate, if it's respectful. You know, every post that goes out,
Right.
every piece of content we create, making sure that it aligns with the kaupapa and the heartbeat of the project, but also is respectful and honoring His Holiness for being a part of it. You know, we're not going to do something that casts him in the wrong light or embarrasses him or gives people the wrong impression about why he did it.
Right. Interesting. And what was his reaction? Did you get a reaction from him when he heard the final thing? And did he give you a review?
Well, our whole plan was to go to Dharamsala and offer it to him in person. Like that had been on the cards once we finally had it released, but certain events in the world have conspired that it has to be done online. So we were able to send him a compilation of the birthday wishes that people gave him, and his office have reported that he's really, really happy that it's reaching with the reach it's had and the response it's had.
Right.
Just from a purely altruistic perspective, you know, I pretty confident he doesn't care about, you know, how many streams it gets and that sort of thing, but it's just the fact that it's serving its purpose. It's benefiting people and reaching people, you know, and it's helping people. That's happening. So that's something.
Right. That's what he's there for. That's fantastic. And sadly, you can't take this show on the road at the moment. You can't, you know, there's
been some pretty interesting plans. It seems like all the world is sort of touring virtually at the moment.
Right.
I don't know if we would be able to involve His Holiness himself in any kind of live thing, but there are some really cool ideas which, without giving too much away, like, did you see some of the artwork that goes with the project?
Yeah.
So those girls were thinking, Ella and Tiffany, who made this beautiful work, possibly doing some sort of gallery installation.
Oh, that's cool.
Might do live presentations of the music and people can kind of walk through and experience it. Or
Yeah.
Ways to
it's amazing what you can do, even though you're stuck in your house. Like I just had somebody come here yesterday and make a 3D module video thing of my studio, and that was yesterday at 2. This morning there's a link to it. It looks freaking amazing, you know. And then I'm doing a Zoom interview with somebody in a couple of days. Oh, is it okay if he plays a couple of tunes while I was like, oh, of course. You know, so everybody's they're just plowing ahead anyway, despite the drawbacks.
I mean, in so many ways, limitation is like a key to creativity. And obviously, there's a threshold. Like, if you can't leave your house, it does get problematic touring and playing live. But people are going to find a way to still be creative and make work, you know, and whatever it is.
Yeah. So now your own music, what are you going to be doing in the next, say, 6 months? Because, I mean, there's a bonanza for local musicians because that's all there is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's true. It's a good question. I haven't really thought about it because I've been trying to get this out for so long.
Right.
Most of my other work has been working with artists, like in a production capacity. So I suppose that's the answer, really. Like running a studio from home and helping with like a lot of artist development, working with a couple community groups, and Junelle and I have set up our own one where it's like, artist development and mentorship is something that I've become really passionate about. So just that sense of, I don't even know if it's giving back. There was just a moment in the saga of this album where we came home from LA after a horrific experience with it, and we just like totally broken and didn't know what to do. And I just wanted to find something with music that would, you know, serve something outside of us, something that felt like it's serving something outside of yourself. Because it's such a, I don't want to say narcissistic, but I would say self-focused pursuit, you know.
Well, outside you got to take care of yourself, you know.
And like,
it's key.
We do have the like camaraderie of playing with other people, which is like an amazing thing, you know, kind of unique to music. But beyond that, I think it's quite a self-focused thing. So being able to do something where you take yourself out of it and can still use the skill set has been like amazingly rewarding in the last few years. Right.
Yeah. And by what standard is it determined whether this is a success or not? I mean, are you gonna sell 1 million or?
We had a meeting with our whole team like internationally this morning, and it's interesting because we've sort of built the infrastructure for the project from the ground up. Like the Dalai Lama's officer in support of it, but they can't be like, hey, buy this, because that's too commercial, you know, obviously. Yeah. And how would I say? So like with what we've built, the response has been amazing, but it's going to just keep growing. The album was number two on worldwide iTunes this week already, which is like amazing.
It is amazing.
So the numbers aren't like Future's latest song or whatever, but they're the most, like for me, for Junelle and myself, it's like this isn't on a hard drive sitting in our house anymore. It's out there and it's reaching people.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be pretty cool.
You know, it exists. Whatever happens to us now, it's out there. So that's a success. Yeah. But I think in the broader sense, it is perceived by everyone involved as a success, and everyone's really proud of what they've made. But it's a long project. There's a lot more stuff to roll out. It's going to keep growing.
Right. Yeah. Because there's still stuff in the can, right?
Yeah. There's more musical content. Oh, we're going to make CDs. That's a big one. We weren't going to, but there's been so much demand for it, even locally and internationally. So those are going to be out at the end of August, and it's a beautiful package.
Oh, great.
My friend Todd Beebe, Esther's partner actually, did the design for it, and it's using the girl's artwork. There's I think 24 or 32 page booklet with descriptions of all the mantras and the benefits, and double CD with the instrumentals and the main album. It's like a beautiful package. So really excited to get that out.
Its own box set. It's fantastic. And it must have been quite a week for you with all the hubbub about the release. What's it been like?
It's been really amazing. Like we've had a couple of windows where we could kind of look up and go, wow, but then everything that's required to keep it going has kept us with our heads down. Pretty busy working, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
so we had to force ourselves to take a moment here and there and be like, it's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. I mean, it's everywhere. Were you surprised at the reaction?
No. And I know that sounds a bit, I don't know. No, I think once people knew about it, because I've believed in it so much, I suppose I assumed that other people would feel the same way that I would about having a work like this in the world.
Right,
so
right.
I'm really pleased, obviously, and grateful, but also I imagined this. Should we succeed in getting it to people, and as you are well aware, like it's the getting it to people part that is the tricky part, and that's required a lot of effort from a lot of people.
Right. So during the 5 years that it took to get this thing to fruition, did you feel like you were kind of keeping it under wraps, or were you trying to tell people about it as it was going? What was the process like?
We unsuccessfully sort of kept it under wraps. I mean, we tried to keep it under wraps for the most part, and like our friends, close friends and family obviously knew about it, but we were conscious not to be too vocal about it.
Right. So I've spoken to Abraham today, so he's given me lots of interesting details and facts and whatever, but I guess it comes right down, the whole thing comes down to you and this idea that you had. So tell me what the root of that was. Where did that come from?
I think it came from, I know the moment that it kind of occurred to my mind, I was working in a corporate office downtown Auckland and feeling overwhelmed with corporate stress and life and working 3 jobs, being one person. And
yes.
I just felt really stressed, and I'd not long visited the Dalai Lama not long prior, visited him in Australia.
Right.
So I'd spent some time with him, about a month or even less than that, maybe a few weeks before the idea came about. I'd been with him in Australia, and as it goes, I get to host him in New Zealand. It's a crazy privilege that I have is hosting him here. And then he disappears, and so this sort of like light in my life vanishes, and
Right. So what's it like to hang out with him? What do? Do you like have tea and watch TV, or I don't know what you do with the Dalai Lama?
Yeah, when I'm with him, when I'm hosting him, I'm working. So my whole role is to enable him, but he is so tireless with his efforts for other people. Like getting to sit down to have some food or like a brief moment of lunch is really rare for him.
Right.
And so I would never want to interfere with those windows for him.
Right.
So one of my goals when I'm with him is to just enable him to, as much as I can, to be available to other people, but also to rest.
Yeah.
And so I my most luxurious windows with him were usually at around 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd meet him, and somebody would have kindly prepared his breakfast, and then I'd take it from the lift to him on his floor.
Yeah. And
I'd often catch him strolling up and down the hallways doing his prayers. And I'd be like, man, people don't realize he's just like hanging out around outside their room right now. Like, and he'd always, clock me and like smile and carry on. And they were my favorite windows because he wasn't surrounded in the entourage and his security and.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
so there's a lot of people keeping an eye on him and doing stuff for him, does he?
Yeah. I mean, between translators and his security, and then he's got a couple of monks he usually has who I became really close with, and people looking after him. I mean, he needs it because people demand so much. He needs that kind of support to be available to the rest of us.
Right. So talking about the album a little bit, like I said, I did speak to Abraham about it quite a bit. So, but for you, since you've been working on this thing for so long, is the final product kind of what you had in mind? Did it change over the course of how it was coming together?
Yeah, it did change. We were finished 3 years ago in theory, more than 3 years ago. We were going to release it around April 2017.
Right.
And we hit some roadblocks, which hung around for a while.
Oh, dear.
And come this year in February, we signed a deal with Charles Goldstack and LA Reid's company, HECO, after 12 months of negotiating. Actually, it was 12 months exactly of negotiating.
And who was doing the negotiating? Was His Holiness actually, taking part in this process, or no? No,
his gatekeepers, his lawyer. We have a lawyer, and then HECO have their lawyer. So it was sort of between I represented our party and Charles his, and His Holiness's secretary his, and then we all had our respective lawyers. So it was this a big process.
I can imagine.
Think, it was pretty intense. So we were all in a really good place though, and I think a lot of trust was built throughout that process actually.
Right.
I mean, for His Holiness's office, like they knew us. It was more a record label, checking them out pretty thoroughly. And
gotcha.
So Charles came on board and officially signed. We signed in February, and he basically raised the bar of this work. Like we were really clear on it being finished, and he took us back to the drawing board.
Oh, nice. That's just where you want to be.
Well, after all those years, we're like, yay, let's get it out. And he's like, no, let's just revisit. And he's super skillful, and like I've really enjoyed working with him.
So what kind of changes? What kind of things did you do to it to get it to the next level there?
Well, he listened to every minute of every track on repeat. And would like mark certain. I mean, he's the owner of the label, by the way. Like he's like, he doesn't get involved with this granular detail, but he did with our project.
Pretty cool.
Remixing, remastering, everything you could think of. He made us go back to the artwork. The whole booklet changed. We got the same designer, Todd Beebe, but who's on the shore.
Right.
Lives on the shore, but local Kiwi guy, but. Yeah, he just made us, we engaged 2 artists here, so Tiffany Singh and Ella Brewer, and they ended up making beautiful pieces of art for each track.
Right.
And this was all Charles's initiative, and we also rewrote 3 of the tracks.
Oh, geez. Oh, by the way, yeah.
And so one of them I think we finished at the most 6 weeks ago.
Right. And do you do some singing on the record?
Yeah, a little bit, like mostly out of convenience because I was there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So where can we hear you? Just give me an instance.
I did co-produce a track called Courage, and sang on that with another
Okay.
lady called Nastasia Wolfgram.
Right.
And her and I sang the BVs on that track, and then I sang on Purification, and I think I'm on Amala. Yeah, Amala.
Cool. All right. It must be thrilling to have this thing done now and out there. And of course, you've probably been talking to press from all over the world. Has that been an interesting experience?
Yeah, it's a quick learning curve, right?
Right. Yeah.
And one of them, my most unusual experiences was with a Washington news channel, Midnight, New Zealand. And I didn't really know who I was going to talk to. And next minute I was sort of on air, and I thought, oh my goodness, these guys are so slick.
Oh, geez.
This is legit. Like, because I've been so busy doing the work, I haven't had a lot of time to do the research. And so our PR team in the US and the UK, they tend to screen everything.
Right, right.
And so I just trust them and say, yep, cool. Tell me their names, make sure I know their names, etc.
Yeah.
But I just did a quick Google before I jumped online, and I thought, oh gosh, these guys are serious. So that was a little bit threw me, to be live on Washington News with these anchors and.
Right.
And it was midnight, and I literally had walked into a wall with tiredness before that.
Yeah. Well, I've been
tired.
doing lots of Zoom interviews, and some of them have been at 1 or 2 in the morning because overseas things. And I know what you mean. You're just like, oh. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you don't know what you say. Like afterwards, I was like, what did I even say? Like, did I make sense? And I don't look at them again afterwards. I can't stomach it. But I checked it for me. He said, oh no, you were fine.
Oh, good. I'm sure you were. But yeah, it's got to be. Because, let's face it, everything in New Zealand is different than everywhere else. It's smaller, it's more casual. And like you say, you're stuck talking to some slick news outfit in Washington, D.C. And it's like, holy crap. It's
yeah, totally. I was like, should I be in a studio? Like, should I have got my hair and makeup? I don't know. Should I have done something different here?
Yeah, well, you can see I dressed up for this.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to stay warm.
Yeah, I reckon. Exactly. Yeah, that's my goal too.
Yeah. So what's next? What are you working on next? You've done the Dalai Lama. Where do you go from there?
I know, right? It's sort of like, it's a strange feeling actually. We're in a long contract, and we're in a sort of a marathon with this work around its release, and staggering sort of different offerings over the next sort of year or so from this project. It would keep developing, but as far as artists go, we have a rapper from Manurewa.
Okay. That's fantastic. That's the next step.
I'm actually really proud of him. Freddie Reynolds, Abraham's been producing him, and I've been managing him.
Right.
Yeah, he's sensational. He's really
cool.
Special.
Well, we'll have to get him come up here, and we'll do a little session and an interview with him at some point.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'd love that. Like, we didn't have time. I knew I didn't have time, but he's so special. I didn't really have a choice but to pick him up.
Yeah.
And it's really great when you get that hunch, and then over time, I've gotten to know him better and better, and he just keeps kind of proving to me that he's just got it. Like he's.
And what's his name again?
Freddie Reynolds.
Freddie Reynolds, okay. Excellent.
Reynolds, yeah. So he is someone to look out for, and a couple of the kind of OGs in the New Zealand kind of hip hop scene. Once they've clocked him, they're like, he's legit. We're like, we know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go because you obviously need some rest. You've been chasing that 2-year-old around all day. And I'm sure you got to take care of Abraham too. So.
Oh, thank you, Marty. Thank you so much for making time for us. And I'm sorry that I wasn't.
I remember when I got the first notice about this thing, and I was like, "Is this real? Did this really happen?" Because I know these people.
Yeah.
It's like insane. So
yeah, we have been waiting. We really appreciate your interest too. Like the New Zealand side's been a little bit slower than overseas.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no explanation for that.
it's but it's okay. Like, we're just grateful. Thank you for taking the time and interest.
Oh,
in
thank
our
you very
project.
much. I much appreciate it.